Welcome back to the Double Stuff Podcast, where we're double the hosts, double the topics, and double the fun. I'm Dan.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Charity.
And I'm Alan.
And believe it or not, we're talking about movies again.
Yay, big surprise.
Didn't we just do this?
If you have not heard the first part of our summer blockbuster episodes, go back one episode in your feed.
Go refill your popcorn for free.
For free.
Get a topper on your drink.
That's right. A topper.
You know,
so you don't make a mess.
A little blub blub.
That's
right. You know, get out your flask and top it off.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about, on the last episode, we talked a lot about the history of the summer blockbusters, some of like the biggest ones from the past. But I feel like there was a shift in the early 2000s about what a summer blockbuster kind of was. Mm-hmm. And that came with Christopher Nolan's movies.
Yeah.
I mainly The Dark Knight, I think, was like probably the biggest one. But even going forward, like, it wasn't. That's true.
Great movie, but not a blockbuster.
But even going into like the rest of the Batman movies and then like Interstellar, right? Mm-hmm. They became big, thoughtful movies.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Not all summer blockbuster, obviously, but like even this year we're getting Oppenheimer in the summer, and that is a huge one that is taking the place of the IMAX theater, where it and Mission Impossible are now like fighting over who's going to be in IMAX during different times. Yeah. But that's such a different kind of a blockbuster from the Speeds, the Jaws, the Jurassic Parks that we've had in the past there. So we actually pulled up, we are still working off of our list. If you listen to the last episode, we were working on Rotten Tomatoes. They have a list of all-time blockbusters and 2022 blockbusters. And I feel like there is sort of you get these thoughtful ones, and then you had a huge rush of kids' movies that were coming out in the summer, specifically Pixar movies. Mm-hmm. Whereas before we were getting like a Toy Story, and then we'd have to wait a few years, and then we get a Bug's Life, and we wait a few more years. Now it's like every year they're coming out. So you had mentioned one of the things that caught your eye on the list was Ratatouille.
Yeah.
Great movie.
I remember when I was in college when that came out, but it was a big deal because this is when I was still watching the Food Network a lot, and they were all over that film, obviously, because it's food related, you know.
Was it accurate?
Rats can cook, Dan.
Yeah.
I meant the food, like with the food was the food. You said the Food Network was all over. I figured they'd be like judging it, you know. Every time the plate comes out, they'd be like, I don't know, that doesn't look like Ratatouille to me.
That CGI was not very realistic to me. I mean, from what I remember, like I think there were a lot of people that were because personally I'd never heard of the food Ratatouille. I mean, I guess I appreciated the pun.
Yeah.
You know, and then they actually
it's literally the reason why they made the films to have the rat in it.
But the thing is, for me,
it a pun or is it a double entendre?
In the restaurant, they have the Ratatouille or Remy's restaurant or whatever.
Yeah, admittedly, I don't know if that's considered entendre. Maybe that's a pun. I don't know. It's wordplay of some kind.
Sounds like a dad joke.
Yeah,
whatever that would fall under.
That would fall under. But the thing is, for me, I was late watching Ratatouille because, like I said, it came out when I was in college. I didn't go out much when I was in school because I didn't have a car. So I didn't see that film until after it went to DVD and played on TV. Sure. So I actually watched it there. But from what I saw, it was very beautifully done.
Yeah.
You know, and it was always nice because I saw, you know, Peter O'Toole played what was
Anton Ego.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is he the critic? Yeah.
Critic. So it was a bit of that old movie kind of mix into itself, but it was very nicely done, and they made Rat Infestation look nice. You know, only kind of Disney Pixar type film can actually be like, oh, they're all coming together to help. Versus, this restaurant closed down because it's totally unclean. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed that, but. You know, I will say, you know, it doesn't fall under the category of like the films that you guys talk about, like a lot of the action-packed and the deep, meaty films.
There's a place for it, you know. I mean, I wouldn't say that it eclipses or has gotten eclipsed by another. I think that in the pantheon of films that I enjoy, there's a place for Ratatouille that's right next to a summer blockbuster.
Right. Yeah. I think that works because I think the biggest thing about summer blockbusters has to be they have to be appeal to everybody, right? Or like the largest amount. I think kids movies do that. I think Pixar movies in particular do that really well.
Yeah.
Not Minions.
No.
Pixar movies.
Yeah.
But I do remember when Despicable Me and Megamind came out.
They were great.
Oh,
Megamind,
Megamind's
yeah.
underrated. I thought that was a fun one.
They're great.
Those bad guys turn good-ish, kind of, sort of. So I think both of those came out in the summer as well.
Bad Guys came out. Was that last year?
Or 21,
Yeah.
I think. Was that?
Yeah.
I think that was 21.
Was that 21?
popular.
It was
I don't
either-
know.
I thought it
but-
was last year.
I don't
I
know.
gotta double check.
I know that my girls have watched it a couple of times. So yeah, it's been out for a little bit.
Okay.
This one I'm not familiar with. You say Bad Guys?
Yeah.
I don't know this
It's
one.
really good because it's you have like all the bad characters that are animals. You have like the big bad wolf.
Yeah.
And you got
Oh.
like the shark, which is always bad, and you have a snake
Mm-hmm.
and a spider, or whatever, and they're always associated with something bad. Obviously.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, if we're going to be associated with something bad, we might as well
go
do
all
bad
out.
things. So they
Right.
like rob banks and, so
Do
they're
heists.
known for being bad.
Yeah.
And then they turn good at the
Yeah.
end,
That's fun.
Yeah, it's a play on like societal stereotypes, kind of like I think Zootopia.
Yep.
Was,
Oh, yeah.
was
Yep.
kind of like
That's
on
us.
that too.
Yep, it definitely was.
That
So
one.
it's-
But
it-
before we get off on Ratatouille, I wanted to show you guys a picture. I still have my ticket stub from
What?
Ratatouille. I found it in one of my
wow.
old notebooks. So in 2007, my ticket was $8.
Wow,
that sounds nice.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, can we go back to that?
Back when they were single digit.
Kidding.
Yeah, and I think that was when they would do student discount back
Oh,
then.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you would show your high school
ID.
ID or something. So
Yeah, back when that mattered. Yeah.
Nice.
Show your great card. I did get all A's.
It's funny, like we
You're
talking about
paying full price, lady.
talking about like all the family films. They're all like I guess animal related films.
So a lot of them are.
Yep.
You know, because before we recorded, we were talking about Chicken Run, which was another
Yep.
big film that came out in 2000.
And they're doing a new one.
They're doing a new
with
one in a
Zachary
couple years.
Levi as the
playing
main
Rocky.
character. Yes.
Really?
so
There's not been any other Chicken Run movies since 2000.
No, I
huh?
don't think there's a big
No.
call for him.
I mean, they did Wallace.
Nostalgia.
They did get Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep. But
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah. Oh, Wallace and
Well,
Gromit's
they
cute.
did. They just had Pirates that came out not too long
yeah,
ago.
that was a few years ago. Yeah, but in terms of like the actual like Chicken Run characters,
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
that hasn't been since 2000. And I remember when that came out, and I thought
So not just the animation studio. You're looking for that.
that particular one.
project.
So the studio itself's been around for like since the 80s or something. Ardman or whatever.
Yeah.
So they've been around for like 40 something years. They've been making stuff for decades.
No, that Wallace and Gromit style. It's not stop motion, right? It's not claymation. I
It
mean, I don't
is.
even, is
Yeah.
it claymation?
It is.
But is it
It's
like
stop
is it
motion.
done in like a 3D like in a computer, or do they do like nowadays like stop motion?
Well, at least in 2000, it was all done by hand.
Was it okay? All right.
Now-
It might be a blend,
Now-
kind of
Yeah.
like what was it? Is it Lico?
Leica. Yeah, that's what I was thinking
yeah.
of too. Is like they're one of the few that are really
Now,
trying to.
I will say when Flushed Away came out, because they did that too. I think Flushed
Oh,
Away.
Flushed Away.
I think Flushed Away was computerized.
I forgot
But
about Flushed Away.
yeah, but Chicken Run and Wallace, those are all stop.
We found it. You go from 1950s to kids movies,
yeah.
like modern kids movies.
It's almost.
We got the link. We found it. All right.
well, that's all we have time
You're
for
talking
today,
about
guys.
movies like you said, Flushed Away, and I had to think about it, and I was like, I vaguely remember that movie.
Yeah,
you knew it
yeah.
right off the bat.
It's like every once in a while I can contribute to the conversation. But yeah, I mean, so those are my inputs, at least in terms of the films that were within the 75, all time, because Chicken Run was in that list. Which is pretty
Any other Pixar's? I mean, you mentioned Ratatouille specifically, but I mean,
Oh, well, I'm always partial to Toy Story 2. Toy Story
Toy Story
2 was
2.
like Toy Story 2 and the first Incredibles.
Yeah.
was incredible.
Oh,
was a
yeah.
great
so you mentioned about
Yeah.
being if they're all animal related or not. You
Yeah.
got Incredibles, Big Hero 6,
Oh, yeah,
Wreck-It
Big Hero
Ralph.
Oh, Big Hero 6.
Yeah. So,
Which is what I was thinking when you guys were talking about bad guys. I was thinking of Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Specifically,
Yeah.
just because that's all video game bad guys. So.
Oh,
Of
yeah,
course, that's right up your alley.
That seemed to have been a theme for many years about bad people turning good, and then them trying
Well, that's
to adjust.
that's kind of what we hope that would happen.
Yeah,
There's still hope for the back.
Well, and
That's
some
right.
of those were like what Alan was saying. They weren't necessarily bad.
yeah,
We didn't want Darth Vader anymore. We wanted our villains to have
That's
a little
right.
bit of humanity.
Oh,
in there.
yeah.
we need what was
Little
it, Big
cute
Helmet?
cushion.
Big helmet.
We need Rick Moranis.
I
Kinda
still,
soften the blow.
I still need to watch Spaceballs. I need
You're
to
not
catch up
wrong.
on
though.
that.
Maleficent. That was
Maleficent,
another
yeah.
one that came out.
I thought Maleficent was one of the ones that kind of. I mean, there's always been, but I thought that one was like, okay, we need to always do this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're just a misunderstood character, kind of like Wicked.
Wicked.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't just have bad guys for sake of being bad guys. They have to have a backstory.
Oh, did you guys watch that Oz prequel movie that wasn't Wicked, but it was like about James Franco played young Oz, and there was Mila Kunis. And
It was all right.
I saw bits
yeah, it
and
was all right.
pieces.
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah,
I watched it once.
They should have done Wicked instead, honestly.
Yeah.
Eventually, who knows?
I mean, they are. I'm pretty certain they're working on a Wicked movie. So
Maybe that's because we live in Kansas and like we're kind of over the Wizard of Oz.
Over the rainbow?
Oh yeah,
I
don't know.
we're over that joke.
Oh, never heard that one before.
Yeah, maybe non-Kansans would probably prefer the movie. Maybe we're just tainted. I guess.
Just
Yeah,
you want a
maybe.
good story. You don't want it to be like you don't want to see through. I see what the writer's doing here. I see what this picture's trying to do.
Like completely predictable.
yeah.
Well, yeah, you want something that you're like, wow. You want it at the end be like going back to like The Sixth Sense or something like that, to be at how I got strung along. How did it happen? And I it's fun. That makes it fun. If I can figure it out, before the story ends, it makes it a little bit. Like the others. I figured out that Nicole Kidman, spoiler alert before I say it, is dead, But there's some that the ending and it's still good. And I'm thinking like Michael Douglas and Sean Penn in The Game.
Okay, don't spoil that because I'm trying to get everybody I know to watch that. That's a great movie.
That's a great movie.
Actually, that's one of the ones that if you do know the twist, it's still really good movie.
It's still really
yeah,
good.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think a movie that fits that is Murder on the Orient Express.
Sure.
Oh, that came out a few years ago. Because even if you don't know the book, you've probably heard the story, and there's been many adaptations. But even in the movie, when I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, this is good," as if I hadn't read the book in 5th grade.
Yeah.
So,
stories like that the ending, but you just want, like The Great Train Robbery pops up like in every generation as an adaptation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I wish I could. You mentioned Murder on the Orient Express. I don't know if anybody's a big fan of the newest ones, the Kenneth Branagh, Hercule Poirot
He's
ones.
tough,
Yeah,
but
I think it's fine. Like I
right.
enjoy those kind of movies. So like even if he's not necessarily like the best version of the character, I think they're still really fun.
Still like Albert Finney?
I mean, I'm not like don't get me wrong. I'm not like a Hercule Poirot purist. He's just a little extra like in those movies, yeah, which is fine. It can be fun. I think it adds like a little bit of levity. But have you seen the trailer for the newest one?
not yet.
Oh my gosh, they're making a new one, and I wish I could remember. It has something to do with Venice, and it's not the name of a story. It's actually like based on a story. But the trailer, when you watch it, it starts out like a horror movie.
Ooh.
Really?
You don't even know it's a Poirot until like close to the end of the trailer. It's great. I'm gonna have to look it up and
Well,
find
I'm
it.
excited.
So he's moving out of casual crime.
Yeah, basically that's what it seems like. It's something to do with Venice. I wish I could remember what the whole title is.
Christopher Nolan's
Murder in
Poirot.
Venice. Or something like that. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't. I was showing because I showed it to Sally because we both like the first, Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to watch this. And the whole time she's watching, she's like, it's a horror movie. I don't like horror movies. She's like, watch it real
She's got her mind
skeptically.
made up.
And then he shows up, that mustache and everything. He's like, oh, really? It was the same reaction.
Oh, that's how they sneak you
It's
in.
like you
Yeah,
sneak it
because
in,
I don't like horror either.
No,
but I would
if
watch
you
it
watch
because
the
of
first
Poirot.
minute of this 2-minute trailer, you'd be like, no, thank you. And then he shows up and it's like, could be interesting.
Yeah.
Could be interesting. Doing
That's
something
what
different.
that's what hooked me in.
That's how they do it.
I will say for Murder on the Orient Express, the thing that got me was that his mustache changed every shot. Like they could not get the continuity, and every time I was just like, no, because sometimes it'd be really bushy, and other times it'd be kind of slicked down. I was like,
that's right.
get the mustache right. That's like what he's known
That's
for.
what he's known for. Yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
get that correct.
and it just kept changing every shot, and I was just like, I can see it.
So in terms of, we've talked a lot about stuff in the past. I know at a time of recording it's 2023. So do you have any 2022 summer movies you guys watched that was like, this is great,
So 2022 was weird. I mean, I wasn't really fully back into the theater at that point, like going back into the theater, but I was starting to a little bit. So like the first one that I went and saw, because I really wanted to see it in the theater, was Top Gun Maverick.
Yep,
Oh,
saw
okay.
that one. Saw that twice.
I think everybody felt the same way about that one. I started going back to the theaters a little bit more, probably the end of or maybe the last half of 2021.
Okay.
And to be honest, I really didn't go to I really didn't go to theaters much. Kind of like what Charity was saying. In the last episode. Oh, we'll get to that. Kind of like what Charity was saying in the last episode, that when we were younger, we didn't have the money to go to theaters much. So I I'm still kind of new to doing it. I really didn't start really doing it until I became an adult. So I guess I'm playing catch up.
Yeah, we would get the videotape. Like if it was a summer blockbuster, it would be on videotape in like November or something.
Or like
okay.
And then we would get it for Christmas. Yay, we can watch the movie now after all of our friends have already seen it.
Yep.
That was our childhood.
Well, and that's how I ended up seeing one of 2022's bigger, supposed to be blockbuster movies, but I ended up seeing it at home much later, was Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah.
Anybody see that?
I haven't.
It's not good.
That's
I've
what
heard.
I've
I've
heard.
heard all negativity.
Which is
about
terrible.
that film.
I am very positive on almost all of the Jurassic anything that comes
Sure.
out. And I was really excited for this one because it brought back all the original cast members, or most of the original like cast members or whatever.
You gotta have your reunion stuff.
It was messy.
Yeah.
Messy. I just wish they can't figure that formula out again. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's they always have to be hitting too high. They think, and like going bigger, and it just doesn't work. They need to bring it back down.
Well, it's the story of Frankenstein, you know, and as long as the dinosaurs are the monster, it works. It's now, okay, can we live with Frankenstein, and can we help Frankenstein to kill the other Frankensteins and things like that? And that's where it gets messy.
It becomes environmental.
Well, yeah, as summer blockbusters are just good movies in general, we want very clear good and bad, and then halfway through, if the friend or the ally or the mentor flips, and then you're like, oh no, now but the protagonist remains like on their journey towards good and setting the world right.
Oh yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
I mean, maybe people think that's old hat and they don't want to do that,
I'm
or
sure.
it's politically incorrect to be that way.
I do think that writers are definitely challenging, you know,
the norm.
just the tropes that have driven people to the theaters for a while. But there's still a lot of people who are like, don't mess with my movies.
Yeah.
This is my escape. I don't want to see my real life reflected in my escape. I want to escape into a world where virtues are still held on a pedestal. I don't want my messiness getting on the screen. Now there's a time and place for that, but in a summertime blockbuster, I don't know.
So much of it has it though. I mean, even Star Wars. You think of like that just being like the space opera fantasy thing, but there were definite like themes in that movie of its time that were different. One thing though that you were talking about, you were all talking about before, we were talking about villains and like having like villains that are sort of like likable villains or whatever.
Sure.
I think that's kind of wrecked people's expectations.
Yeah.
Because then you go into a movie like the newest Star Wars movies with like Kylo Ren, and there were people who were like fans of Kylo Ren.
Right.
And like it's just like, you know, he can just be bad. That's okay. We can have bad guys and good guys in movies.
Right.
And that's not a problem, but not everybody
I think
wants
people
that,
are
so.
putting like today's moral standards, I guess, on like, especially when we go to throwback movies. You know, you were talking about Star Wars, which is a long running franchise, or Jurassic Park. You know, you're putting like, we grew up in a different time, I guess, right or wrong. It was a different set of rules, I guess. And so if you're trying to put that same movie that came out during that time, put a new set of rules on it, it doesn't mesh sometimes.
Sure, a lot of times, yeah. So
Well, maybe because like with the 2022 ones, like I did watch a lot of feel good films, or a couple of them. So like one of the things on the list is Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Me and Charity went to go see that one, and that was just a cute film about a woman who her husband goes missing. I guess find out he dies in World War II, but realizing that he had saved up a bunch of money for her, and so she gets this big old like stipend of money, and so she's like, you know what, I'm gonna live it up. I'm gonna go to Paris, you know. And that's basically the film. It's just her enjoying Paris, and you know, going to see the fashions, because I think it takes place in like late 40s, early 50s. So it's cool. I enjoy the fashions of that era too. So it's just a fun film just to see somebody living their life in Paris, and you know, so it's corny and it's cheesy, but you kind of want to have, like you said, it's an escape, you know. So you kind of want to have a bit of that. There's nothing wrong with unrealism, you know, with seeing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there was one that I thought got it right last year, and I'm going to botch the name, so I'm going to rely on you to help me out with this, but it's like, it was the Nick Cage movie. It was The Unbearable Weight of Greatness or something like that.
The unbearable weight of massive talent.
Of massive talent.
I wanted to see that. I never got a chance to see that. I wanted to see it.
So much fun.
It is super fun. It's really fun.
Looking at the trailer, I'm like, it looks like they're just throwing caution to the wind and just having fun with
absolutely.
it.
It's super
great.
ridiculous, but it was super fun.
Yeah.
I agree. We cannot get out of a 2022 discussion without you guys being able to talk about Elvis, though.
Yes.
So I'm going to turn this one over
let
to you.
Sarah have her moment. Give her a minute.
It's very good.
Okay, yes, that has to be the grand finale. Like I said, I'm not really huge on biopics. I've seen a few, but sometimes they're kind of hit and miss with me sometimes. And so I was a bit skeptical going into Elvis, but yeah, I will say I don't know what it was about it. It was just that was the best movie I saw in a long time, especially for 2022, but that's the best movie I've seen in years.
Wow.
And I saw that movie 6 times in the theater. And the last time I saw a movie that many times was when I was about 13, 14 years old when the Jonah VeggieTales movie came out.
Elvis has surpassed VeggieTales. That's a big deal.
I've never gone to the theater that much. So so if you guys want to know about me, just replay that sentence and you'll understand a whole lot.
So to make a good movie, you got to be able to sing along. Is that one of the components?
Sing along with computerized vegetables, or add some rock and roll too. But it was just. I feel like it hit all the notes.
Okay.
And why it didn't win any Oscars is a travesty. And
maybe they just got it against Baz Luhrmann. I'm not a big fan of his. I don't.
You're not. I liked his work earlier, like his early work. I mean, not early, but Simply Ballroom, and which I thought was interesting.
I've never
Not
made it through Moulin Rouge.
very
Moulin
boring. I love Moulin Rouge. I think it's great.
Oh my gosh.
I was working Master Control at another TV station when The Great Gatsby came out.
Okay.
Great Gatsby.
And
Yeah.
so it was all over. But I was like, Charleston, everything. Wait till 2020 comes, it's going to be great. And
I've
all
never
that
made
kind
it
of
to The
stuff.
Great
Joke's on
Gatsby.
you.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't get it either.
I don't know. It was just something about watching Elvis. Like you could see when I first saw it, it's like you could see the passion that they put into it. Like, and what I don't always see in biopics was that it seemed. I mean, I know there's a lot of exaggeration in it, so it's not like this is exactly what happened, but you can tell that they spent a lot of time getting every detail of clothing.
You saw the research.
Yeah, you could see the research, the clothing, the even the colors that they used to portray time periods, and the full reenactment of that. Austin Butler's act. I thought everything was just perfect, and I don't know. It's. And I never really say a movie is life-changing because I always thought that's a really goofy thing to say, but I don't know. That changed.
But it's
me.
life-changing.
Yeah, it was.
Just say it. Just own it.
Yeah, one of these days I'll just do a full episode just on that. But it was amazing, and for almost a 3-hour film, it kept my attention the whole entire time.
Oh, that's
Okay.
good. Yeah.
So summer blockbusters can be life-changing.
It can be. You just have to wait
Alright.
until
That's
2022.
a nice
So let's take a
morals to the story and ending there.
Yeah,
Alright.
dreams do come true.
Well, thank you for listening to us talk about all these summer blockbusters. And,
Yes.
if you have any of your favorites that we didn't talk about, hit us up. Let us know what you think we missed or that we should watch. So at this point, Sarah, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you again to
Yes.
let us know where we can listen.
Yes.
People can listen.
Thank you guys for watching our feature presentation. But you can just, binge listen to all of our episodes. We're available on doublestuffpod.com. All of our newest episodes are on all different podcast platforms. Check us out on our social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Double Stuff Podcast, and on Twitter at Double Stuff P, and that's the letter P.
Credits.
Credits.